Hey, it's Magic Prepper, and I'm here with Midway USA, and I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to the Midway USA ECWS Sleep System. This is a 4-in-1 sleep system that gives you everything you need to stay comfortable in just about any environment, which is very important to me living here in North Dakota, where we get extreme temperatures for most of the year. Now, this particular system, like I said, has 4 different components. You get a stuff sack, a patrol bag, an intermediate bag, and a bivy. And the total weight of the system is 8 pounds, 7 ounces. Now, compare that to my tent and sleeping bag setup that I usually use at 9 pounds, 12 ounces. And this is actually lighter while keeping you warmer than what that other system is capable of. So keep that in mind. But there are some things that I want to share with you about the system. I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to show you all the individual components. We're going to talk about how much each component weighs, its size, and everything else to give you some ideas about why you might be interested in getting this one-and-done sleep system. This is based off of Snugpak Special Forces sleep systems that you can find online for very expensive prices, and this is much more affordable, and it still does the same job pretty well. And in fact, I really don't have any complaints except for maybe one minor one, which I'm going to tell you about, because Midway USA is cool with people being honest and transparent about their opinions, and I appreciate them for that. Now, this thing is also scalable, because you don't have to use every component within. You can also just take the bivy if that's all you need. You can take the patrol bag in the bivy. You can take just one of the bags. It depends on the situation. But what's great about that is that you get a system like this one, and it's all you ever need for any environment, any climate. It'll basically cover all of your bases. So I like that a lot about it. Now, it does take up a little bit of space when you have the entire system like you see right here. It packs down to about 17 inches by 12 inches, which, you know, is pretty big, but it's all you need to stay comfortable in even the environment you currently see me in right now. So let's go ahead and open this thing up. I'm going to show you every component. We're going to get inside of it, let you know how warm I am, and hopefully it gives you an idea about something that might be worth grabbing. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about component-wise for the sleep system is the stuff sack itself. This is what I would consider to be the weak link of the system, because it just doesn't seem to be very well constructed, and I already have torn some of the straps where the stitching has let go due to putting a little bit too much pressure on them from either cranking down the compression straps or pulling on it while trying to remove the sleeping bag, which is a very tight fit. So, and I'll go ahead and show you that really quickly, just so you can kind of be aware of what the stuff sack is doing. As you can see here, hopefully you can see it, but some of the threading is starting to come off of this strap right here. And like I said, I appreciate that Midway USA is willing to allow me to give you my honest opinion about these products. But the other thing I want to mention is that even though the stuff sack's not great, it definitely does the basic job, but I would personally replace it with an aftermarket one from Snugpak. They make a great compression stuff sack as well. And honestly, for the price of a new stuff sack, you're still getting a very good value by buying the sleep system. So even with this being the weak link of the equation, not a big deal, because after buying another stuff sack, you're still in a really good value for what this sleep system provides. I would also recommend getting a dry sack of some kind. Snugpak makes those as well, and they work quite well, at least in my experience. And what's good about that is that it keeps everything dry, and the sleeping bags themselves need to be dry. They're not supposed to get wet, whereas the bivy obviously is waterproof. So you might want to get something that maintains the ability for everything to stay dry while also working with the compression sack that might be a little bit more durable. So that's to start it off. Let's talk about other components of the sleep system now. All right, so here we have the sleep system all set up, at least in a way that I find acceptable. And on the outside, of course, you're gonna get started with the waterproof bivy. Now, this thing is actually made out of nylon Talcin with a PTFE membrane shell. So that's what keeps it waterproof, windproof, and protects you from the elements. And it weighs 1 pound, 14 ounces. So even if this is all you had with maybe like a whoopee or some type of blanket, it would be considered a sleep shelter and you would be able to get out and camp with it. So very lightweight, easy to pack, and waterproof, right? Which is very important for making sure that you stay out of the elements. Now, it's 85 inches long by 34 inches wide. So that should tell you, based on your size, whether or not you'll fit in it, but I will tell you the inner bags are smaller. So of course, the more inner bags you add, the smaller the system gets, which means the taller you are, the less comfortable it might be. But I'm 6'3" and it works perfectly fine for me. So that should give you some point of reference at least. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. We're gonna get close up to it. I'm gonna show you how it intertwines with all the inner bags using a system of snaps, and that way you can kind of see how it works. And then we'll talk about each inner bag as well. All right, so here you can see there's a woodland camo pattern on top of the bivy, so that might help you with some concealment in case that's a concern you have. But I want to show you how this closes up and how it interacts with the inner bags. So here at the hood, you actually have a square of hook and loop right here, which actually allows you to close things up a little bit more in case you're in rain or snow or wind and you want to make sure everything is kept out of the sleep system without cutting off airflow. So that's actually pretty important. And then there's also a drawstring here on the side that allows you to cinch up the hood, so that way if things are really bad outside, you can kind of keep yourself covered as good as possible. So that helps a little bit right there. And then of course here you can see the inner bags are starting to show through, and we're gonna go ahead and open this up. Now the way this closes up in order to make it waterproof and environment proof is through a series of snaps and zippers. So we have snaps here on the side, as you can see, like so, and then there's a zipper that is actually two-sided, so it allows you to zip it from the inside of the bag or the outside of the bag. That pulls down, and then as you can see here, we have the inner bags that are all actually integrated using this system of snaps you can see right here. So all you have to do is unsnap the bags, and then now the bivy is separate from the sleeping bags themselves. So that's how the bivy works. Very simple, very straightforward, but it has, all the features you need to make it environment proof. So let's talk about the inner bags now. All right, so one thing I want to mention that I find kind of interesting is that here on the inside of the bivy, the way this works is that the patrol bag is actually the outside bag, and then the intermediate bag is the inside bag. And it seems a little backwards because the intermediate bag is 80 inches long by 31 inches wide, and the patrol bag is 77 inches long by 30 inches wide. So by the patrol bag being the outer bag, you actually lose space you would otherwise have, or at least it seems like it limits everything down to the size of the patrol bag. So I wanted to mention that just to give you something to consider, because in case you're very, very tall, that is something that might affect your ability to use the sleep system properly. Now, like I showed you before, the way this interacts is through a system of snaps and zippers, right? So we'll go ahead and open it all up, and then we will pull the inner bags out, and then I will separate the patrol bag from the intermediate bag, which is the same exact setup. It's a series of snaps. So as you can see right here, now each bag has zippers as well that you can zip up. I've found that once you're in the bags, you don't really need the zippers because it's extremely warm. But if you want them, you have them. And of course, the snaps can suffice for making sure everything stays together in case you want to keep it closed, but you don't have to deal with the zipper in the situation where you want to close it up. So now we've got the intermediate bag out. And let's talk about the patrol bag, which is actually still connected. There we are. Okay. Now, the patrol bag is the green one. Now, this one is warmed down to 40 degrees, okay? So if you had just this and the bivy and you lived in most of the United States where 40 degrees is about as cold as it's gonna get when you go outside and wanna camp or something like that, then this will probably do the job. Now, this bag by itself weighs 2 pounds, 8 ounces. It has a single layer of 110 grams per square meter of synthetic insulation, and it's made out of a nylon ripstop shell. So it should at least have some durability to it. I haven't thrown it all around or tried to drag it through a bunch of brush to see what would happen, but in my limited use of this bag, I can tell you that it's worked just fine, okay? Now, that is the patrol bag, and that gives you all the details you need with that. Like I said before, you can scale this system down so that if you only need the patrol bag and the bivy, you have a pretty lightweight package now. Now, where I live, wanting a 4-season sleep system is kind of part of the deal, which is where the intermediate bag comes into play. Now, the intermediate bag is much thicker and much heavier, but it is also much warmer. The intermediate bag will get you from 40 to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very good in the sense of being able to use it in just about any environment. Now, that's also made from that nylon ripstop shell, but it has a double layer of 170 grams per square meter of synthetic insulation. Now, because of that, this bag weighs 3 pounds, 7 ounces. So it is definitely a lot heavier, but if you need it, you need it. And if it's really cold outside, well, you know which bag you got to use. And of course, if you get down to negative 15, you only need the intermediate bag, so you can still cut the weight of the patrol bag and just use whatever makes sense at the time. Now, what is nice is that you can use both bags together and get into a system that gets you warm in really cold environments. And in that scenario, where I live here in North Dakota, where it gets to negative 30, negative 40 sometimes, this can still do the job. Now, I'll be completely honest with you, I haven't tested that out quite yet because, well, the logistics of doing that are kind of difficult. But what I will say is that in cold temperatures like what I'm in right now, as well as just in general throughout the time I've used this bag here in North Dakota to test it out, I haven't ever found myself wishing it could be warmer. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, I'm gonna get all this stuff put back together. That way you can kind of see the process, and then I'll go ahead and jump in the bag and then kind of give you my final thoughts. But I really wanted to share this with everybody because this particular sleep system for the price is basically impossible to beat. Yes, I will say straight up, it's made in China. And that's a question I know a lot of people are gonna have. But that's what allows Midway USA to provide it at the value that they can provide it at. So it gives you that option. If you wanna get it made somewhere else with higher quality materials or components, that's fine, but it's gonna cost a lot more. This allows people who are on a more limited budget to get into a sleep system like what special forces like to use without having to break the bank. So I find that to be really beneficial. Let me get it all set back up. I'll jump in the bag and then we can kind of finish this up. Whew. I can tell you right now, it's really hot. So, this sleep system is super capable. I could easily stay in this overnight out here in this environment. It's really warm. Right now I'm cooking, to be honest with you. But in reality, for the price, I think it's excellent to have a sleep system that's so versatile and can keep you warm in just about any inclement weather while also being relatively affordable. So please check it out, Midway USA's ECWS 4-in-1 sleep system. It's definitely worth a look. I definitely recommend it if it's something that you want to have a one and done sleeping bag system to get, in the sense of you buy it and that's all you need. You don't need anything else to get out in the woods, set up camp, and go to sleep, right? Anything else you need, make sure you leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have and give you some other anecdotal experiences and evidence about whether or not this sleeping bag might be worth your time. And of course, like I said, I'm Magic Prepper. If you want to check out my channel for more preparedness related conversations, feel free to do so. And big thanks to Midway USA for having me here. Hopefully we can do it again soon.